Hello and welcome everybody. I am feeling very honored to be one of the speakers here at the Divorce Summit of 2024. Today, I would like to talk to you about self-love and unconditional love and how can we tap into that through our practices. But before we do that, let's get to know each other a little bit better. So let me talk a little bit about myself, tell you where I'm from, and a little bit about my background. So my name is Adrian. I am a loving husband and a man that loves personal development on all areas of life, physical, mental, and spiritual. And one of my life's purposes is to attain freedom on an emotional and financial level. Now, by doing so, I want to be able to help as many people as possible to achieve their goals and objectives so that I can leave this planet a better place than it was when I was born. So before we get to talk about love, which is a very exciting subject, very close to my heart, I would like to share a bit about the opposite of it and what I actually had to go through to understand what true love means. So I grew up in a very poor family, and I have been abandoned twice by my mom when I was about 4 years old, by my dad. So by my mom, I've been abandoned several times. My dad was an alcoholic, so I've encountered a lot of rejection. And as you can tell, obviously, I grew up with a very low self-esteem, not knowing how love should manifest in a healthy way. Excuse me. Therefore, attracting similar relationships in my life, or toxic relationships like the millennials are calling it nowadays, And so as you can tell, obviously, as you can say, I've grew up with a low self-worth, and I grew up thinking that all the women in my life are gonna abandon me at some point or another. Due to my past, I would attach every woman to my mom because that's what I thought is gonna happen. And based on that, I would either kind of run away from the relationship before it's gonna end itself in a way that's gonna hurt me. More often than not, I did that, and obviously it was not a very good or healthy thing to do, but through these experiences, I end up where I am today. So I've discovered personal development about 10 years ago, and through its disciplines, I discovered self-love and what actual love is. And what is self-love? It's a lot of practices put together. It starts with emotions and your spiritual journey. It starts with forgiving yourself and others. It starts with taking care of yourself through, working out, doing a yoga, meditating, something that's taking care of your physical and mental health as well as your emotional health. With eating healthier, that is part of self-love. lowering your expectations from others. That's part of a journey where you learn to love yourself more. Because as Buddha said over 2000 years ago, expectations are the mothers of all suffering. And therefore, we have to lower them so that we don't suffer as much. We detach. Yeah, detachment again is another part of self-love. So detaching yourself from negative habits, from negative thinking patterns, from memories that are holding you back, you know. And through doing all this, try to ground yourself as well more, meaning spend more time into the nature, do more things which make you happy, you know. And this is like a key and is an essence to unconditional love, to self-love, because you can only love yourself, you can only love somebody else as much as you love yourself. Let that sink in for a minute. You cannot love somebody else more than you love yourself. So once you start loving yourself and taking care of yourself at all these levels, that's when you'll be finally able to attract the person, the relationships, and the love that you are reflecting, that you are emanating through your body, through your energy, through your mentality. So I'm gonna tell you now a little story of attachment and detachment that I learned throughout my years. And as I said earlier, most of my relationships were based on attachment. Yeah. And I don't mean the healthy one. I mean the clingy attachment, which brings along addictions. Yeah. All sorts and any kinds of addictions. And it wasn't until I started putting in practice all this discipline and that I stopped looking for the next crave, for the next person, for the next thing that's going to make me happy. Because through my practices, I was doing that. And that was when I actually found the person that resonated with me, that we were on the same level, mentally and spiritually. And so I don't want to advertise this in any way, but it's worth checking out for everybody because it worked for many people. I went on a tantra speed dating a few years back. That's where I actually met my wife. And before that, I had a clear vision in my mind of what I am looking for. So I was stable enough emotionally and spiritually to be clear enough to what and who I am looking for. All right. And so we met there. It was a lovely experience. Then we started texting each other. And so at the time, I was about 28 years old. And I grew up with this old mentality where I don't mean old as in necessarily a bad. It's just an old kind of mentality that grows in my culture where I'm from, the east part of Europe in Romania, where it's all about family. Yeah. So you've got three things to make in life. Yeah, that's how they go around here. You gotta have a job, get a wife, and make kids, right? And I grew up thinking that I have to make a family and I have to make kids, and that's going to be my legacy. I had no idea what legacy meant at the time. But then in time, I realized that you can actually leave a legacy on this planet on so many levels. Yeah, not just kids. That's a biological kind of legacy. And to be honest, you can't really have control over that. You can only hope for the best. Like our parents and their parents before hoped when their time was to make kids. And so we met, we're going out on a couple of dates, and we're connecting and resonating on such a high level. I've never had that kind of connection in my entire life. Yeah. And she told me at the time that she's got 3 kids, she's been divorced. I was okay, fair enough. I didn't bat an eyelid, you know. Um, I've been married before. There's no biggie, you know. And to be fair as well, her kids were already grown up. So they were like 3, 4, 5 years old. They were already adults, you know. Hi, Angie. Thank you. And so I said, let me give this a shot, which I did. And we obviously had our deep conversations. She asked me at some point, what do you want in life? And I said, obviously I want to be happy. I want to make a family. I want to start a family and have some kids. And that was a little bit of a breaking point, because she said, well, honey, I can't have kids anymore. And to be honest, I think I was pretty vexed at the time. And after a deep introspection, I said, I'm afraid we can't do this anymore. Like, I like you and I love you on so many levels, but there is this bit in my life which is not accomplished yet, So we kind of decided to consciously uncouple, which we did. But as we are doing that, she showed me something that I've never experienced in my life, not that I remember of anyway, which was unconditional love. She told me at the time that it's okay for us to break up now. She respects my decision and she wishes me all the best. And I've never had so much compassion and empathy coming from a person, from a female, into my life ever before. And so at the time she went on a little meditation retreat. And while she was there for a week or 2 weeks, I can't remember exactly, I was at home thinking about my life choices and my life decision, going deeply, introspecting myself, as in, is that really what I truly want? Is that really my life's purpose? Because remember, I said at the beginning of this video that my life's purpose is to become emotionally and financially free. Yeah. And so after I thought for days and days in a row, I realized that that's not really what I want. That was just the seed that's been planted in my brain as a little child, because the people around me didn't know any better. And remember, I grew up in a broken family, abandoned by the mother, sleeping on the streets. My dad was an alcoholic. So I didn't really have role models, and I would just pick up on whatever I would see around me. Yeah, in schools, in colleges, in brothers and sisters, and so on and so forth. And so then I realized that, yeah, that is not actually what I meant. And so as soon as she came out of the retreat, a couple of weeks later, I called her and I said, listen, I really apologize. I've considered and pondered my life's decisions. And the fact that I want kids, it wasn't really my choice. It was a built-in mentality that I had growing up as a child. And so we finally got back together. And ever since, we're happily married, and it has been a great, great experience meeting this amazing woman. And we are able to experience unconditional love very often. I'm not going to say on a daily basis because that's not realistic. You can't just experience unconditional love on a daily basis. Very rarely you get that even from a mother to a child, or a parent to a child, or a brother to a sister. Even that has its own limits. So as you can imagine, we're being two grown human beings. We have our jobs, we have our missions, and we have our backgrounds. So of course we're gonna knock heads, so to speak, when I want it my way, she wanted her way. But the most important thing is that we realized that we came together to accomplish great things as a unity. And along the way, we're gonna talk, communicate, and express our feelings in a safe space and a safe manner. And when somebody is really angry, we take a little break, and then we come back in calmness and talk things through. Of course, everybody's gonna have days when things are not going right. For example, I have ADHD, and I have the attention span of a rabbit. I just move from point A to B really quick, and I get angry really, really fast. Yeah, due to my past life traumatic experiences, and because I lived most of my life in flight or fight mode, I get activated really quick. But then I'm very lucky that my wife has the most patience in the world, and she is a neurodivergent as well. So she's got dyslexia and I have ADHD. So you can imagine, she's asking 100 questions. I get really annoyed when I'm being asked 100 questions, and there's a little bit of a imbalance there. But putting all of that on aside, I think the most important thing is that we both strive to discover and to experience unconditional love from within. So the most important thing is that we are even talking about this at the beginning of our relationship, that I am the most important person in my life, and she is the most important person in her life. Sorry. So she needs to love her as much as she can possibly can, and I'll be there to support her in any way, and vice versa. And then that love will manifest into a unity, into one. And so I hope that my experience in my little story inspired or helped anybody.